So when you started dealing with Blandon, how do you pronounce the name?
Blandon.
Danilo?
Danilo Blandon.
Danilo Blandon. A name that I'm sure you'll never forget.
No.
Um,
Another one of those situations.
how did you get linked up with him initially?
I was dealing with a guy named Henry and Ivan when I started, and Ivan got shot and paralyzed, and Henry was always like a drunk, stayed drunk. But I met Henry first, and Henry was scary too. He was scared. Probably hadn't had much contact with blacks. And he turned me over to Ivan, and then eventually when Ivan got shot and paralyzed, then Henry turned me over to Danilo.
Who was the plug, essentially? And you had no idea that he was financing the war in Nicaragua?
I did know that they were fighting a war in their country. I didn't know that it was the Contras or it was Nicaragua, no.
Okay. But ultimately that's what was happening. That he was taking the drug money that you guys were making and financing a war in South America.
Yep.
When you found that out, how mind-blowing was that?
Well, I didn't find that out till I was in prison. Looking at a life sentence.
Okay.
I didn't know until Gary Webb had put the story together and published the article, Dark Alliance. I was baffled, that this guy was tied to the United States government. I mean, I couldn't believe it. Even when Gary published the story, I still found it hard to believe. And then especially me too, like, come on, Rick, how Ricky Ross get in this circle, like.
So he was working directly for the government?
He was an operative. If you're a foreign nationalist and you don't have your citizenship, then you can't work directly for the government. You have to be what they call as an operative, meaning that they can hire you, but you don't work for the government.
Okay, but he was being paid.
He's been paid by
the government.
Yes.
How much did the government pay him? Millions?
I don't remember. I mean, we talked about monies that Enrique Bermudez received from George Bush and Ronald Reagan, but we didn't find out exactly what amount of money he was paid specifically. And he was saying that he was a patriot to his country, so he probably would have did this for free.
Yeah, pretty deep.
Yeah.
And when the whole thing blew over, what was the name of the guy that had to testify, who didn't recall anything?
I can't think of his name.
Oliver North.
Was it Ollie North? Yeah, Ollie North.
Oliver North. Hold on.
Yeah, Oliver North was. He was the guy that he was really the fall guy. He kind of like what's going on with Trump right now, with Cohen and Trump's lawyers and Flynn and all those guys. But at that time, I guess Reagan, we didn't have the internet too, so a lot of things were different then, and they were able to keep it quiet. And Oliver North knew that he was getting a presidential pardon from George Bush. So, they pardoned Oliver North. And it's the first time, too, that type of situation ever happened and no investigation ever took place because he pardoned him before it could even be an investigation. It would almost been like if Trump would have been smart, he would have pardoned Michael Flynn and Cohen, all those guys. Oh, I pardon all of you guys, pardons. Mullin stopped them. You don't even need to do an investigation because they all got pardons.
And this was Bush Sr.?
Yeah, it was Bush Sr.
So Bush Sr. pardoned Oliver North.
Yeah.
Because Bush was really in on it.
I mean,
allegedly.
You could say that. I don't know. I don't know the facts.
Well, why else would he pardon him? I mean, seriously.
I mean, everybody gotta use their own common sense, about what took place with that. The CIA said that we knew they were selling drugs, but we didn't sanction it. you know, when it's your job to stop it. And then you also go to the Attorney General and give a letter and say, hey, we know if somebody's selling drugs and we don't stop them, is against the law. But let's do this here. Let's change the law for a little while.
Right, because essentially, from what I understand, you can correct me if I'm wrong, was that the U.S. wanted to fund this war in Nicaragua. They didn't have the actual funding from the government, so they used the drug money to finance what the government wasn't giving them.
Correct. They said that they gave them $18 million to fight a war that Russia had gave the Sandinistas $100 million.
Right. And this was in the 80s where essentially the U.S. and Russia were at war, but since they couldn't fight each other directly, they would have these little wars in countries like Vietnam and Nicaragua, Afghanistan, wherever else, and we would just fund whatever side.
Right.
Because at one point, we were funding bin Laden in Afghanistan. He was one of our guys.
Yeah.
Against Russia. And then, you know, look what happened ultimately.
Yeah, switched up. And
right.
That's kind of what happened over in Nicaragua.
Yeah.
But we picked the wrong side. We picked the losing side.
So, okay, so the side that America funded ultimately lost, even with all the drug money and everything else like that.
Correct. And that's why those guys fled from there and came over here.
Wow.
And in order to get their country back, they really started selling drugs full steam ahead.
Right.
Well, you know, as Danilo said, Enrique Ramirez said when he went on the fishing trip with George Bush and came back, that the ends justify the means.
Yeah. And Oliver North this year was actually made the president of the NRA.
I heard about that.
After having a show on Fox for like 15 years. Yeah, man, it's kind of funny how certain people end up in prison and certain people end up with TV shows, like pardons.
It's about your ties and your plugs. You know who you don't know, how much money you got. You know, all those things play a big role in this, you know, in this system. You know, if Trump was anybody but Trump, for all perspectives, he would be in prison right now.
And he still might be. You never know. You don't think so?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so. Well, and what's interesting is, you know, you mentioned Gary Webb. He was the one that wrote the article exposing all this. He somehow committed suicide by shooting himself in the head twice.
Amazing. Amazing.
You know, I don't think it's ever been done before. But I guess the medical examiner, that was their conclusion, that he committed suicide by...
The medical examiner said it was possible.
He shot himself in the head twice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amazing.
You think he was assassinated?
I mean, I would refer to that. You know, I haven't saw the police report or the coroner's report or anything like that. But you know, just from my logical sense that you know that I've been living, if a person shot himself in the head, would he have the wherewith to pick the gun up and say, you know what, you didn't kill yourself, do it again? I mean, that's pretty amazing for a person. I mean, his determination was off the chain.
If you were to make a wild guess as to who killed him, who would you say?
Somebody who didn't like him, or didn't like what he said. So it could have been a number of people, you know. I mean, he implemented Ronald Reagan, he implemented Bush, he implemented Oliver North, he implemented the CIA. I mean, you know, he put a lot of names in his articles. So, and those guys were still living. You know, Ronald Reagan was living when he did that article. It wasn't. Yeah. He wasn't deceased.
Right. And as far-fetched as you may think it is, I mean, right now in 2018, you saw that one journalist killed.
Khashoggi.
Yeah. And he was in Turkey at the time. But all the reports, including the CIA, said that the king of Saudi Arabia, or the crown prince of Saudi Arabia, was the one that put that hit out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But he said he didn't.
Right.
Which he should. I mean, who's going to admit?
Yeah, who's going to admit to that?
I mean, they go downtown and they'll line up. Well, who's innocent? And everybody in there going to put their hands up.
And this is why it's important, you know, this drives me to do the type of interviews that I do. Is that like, you know, and you do take you take a risk
Oh, no question.
When
no
you interview
question.
certain types of people and talk about certain issues, like, you know, people don't like me, you know, over interviews that I've done, but it just is what it is.
Well, I can't tell on the streets.
Yeah.
They all talk about you.
I'm
They
the
want to know
police.
you. They want to
Right.
know you. What he look like? How is he? It's amazing. You know, when I first started doing your shows, I thought it was just like another, podcast. That,
Yeah.
That
A couple hundred people watch it and that's it.
Yeah, but you
Millions of views later.
I go out on the streets and people be like, "Man, you Rick Ross? I saw you on." I was like, "What?" I was like, "Oh, this dude got a reach." I'm in Miami. They talking about you in Texas, and you know, because we did a book tour last year. You know, we stayed on the road for about 8 months, and every city we went to, man, they was like, "We saw you on there. We saw you. We saw you." I thought it was gonna be the BET American Gangster, but it was man. You kick up dust, man.
We got the streets. That's one thing that we got.